like Legacy as a title a lot because, I mean, that's really what we're communicating in this album. When you listen to the music, you hear Buffalo Springfield, you hear Poco, you hear Eagles, you hear Loggins and Messina. It's one album with all four of those elements in it.
To be able to hear your music continuously being played over that 20-year gap, you know, that's pretty amazing and pretty neat. It's quite an honor and a privilege, you know, to have made music over all of those years that people still like, they still want to hear. And I think that's one of the reasons that, you know, Poco really has a reason for, you know, doing, you know, this record that we've done now.
To put us all back together again and have a glimpse into each of us as artists was what we wanted to try and accomplish, but not go back, you know, go forward, make a 90s record. And I think that Legacy gives us all the opportunity to see not only each other, but for the new generation to see where it all came from, where it all began.
Jimmy Messina was the last of the 9 that joined the band, and Jimmy and I really hit it off really good, and we decided we wanted to put another band together. We didn't want to stop.
Richie and I decided that we wanted to continue to work together, and we wanted to do something like we had been involved with, but something that we felt was a step toward something different.
And we kind of had this idea that we wanted to have a steel guitar in the band, and we wanted to play music that really made people happy. I mean, really, you know, touched our hearts and made them feel good. And so when we were putting together the Last Time Around album, I'd written a song called Kind Woman, and decided this would be a really good song to put a steel guitar on. And I talked to one of our road crew, and he said, listen, I know the best steel guitar player there is. The only problem is he lives in Denver. I said, hey, we'll bring him out.
Richie picked me up at the airport when I flew in from Colorado in his little red Volkswagen. And I just remember being really, you know, starstruck because I really thought the Buffalo Springfield was it. And the fact that I got to be on the record and that he was picking me up at the airport was, you know, I couldn't believe that that was really happening.
And when he played on Kind Woman, Jimmy and I just looked at each other and we said, this is the guy. We're getting him in our band. And so we talked to Rusty about it, and then we said what we wanted. We gave him the concept. We want to have, you know, a lot of harmonies, a lot of vocals, and all that. He said, listen, I know a guy that played drums with me back in Denver.
And so Rusty called me to come out because I can sing and I'm a drummer. So I came out and kind of auditioned with it. It worked, so I stayed.
And then what we needed was a bass player, and we auditioned 2 bass players. We auditioned Randy Meisner and Tim Schmidt.
So I remember I went up to Richie's house in Laurel Canyon and rehearsed, you know, a couple of few songs, and all of a sudden they said, yeah, we want you.
We chose, first off, Randy, and so there was the formation of the original band.
When I need good loving, I always come home to you. You free my time of the blues. Colorado mountains, I can't see your distant sky. You're bringing up to joy to mine, and it's a good feeling to know. It's a good feeling to know. It's a good feeling to know somebody loves you.
When we did our second album, we hired Tim Schmidt to take Randy Meisner's place. And we rehearsed and got the band real tight, and the band was playing great. The band was, at that period, was a really great live band to see. At that point, where everything was real, I mean, the band sounded great, things were really going great. Jimmy felt like he was being, what's the word? He couldn't grow. He wasn't being able to, you know, do the things in music that he wanted to do. So that's when we lost Jimmy. and we hired Paul Cotton to take his place. And at one point out on the road when we were doing shows, we had Jimmy and Paul both. And so it was a real amicable, Jimmy was real good about helping out, showing Paul, you know, the parts that he played. And we got Paul Cotton in the band, and it worked great for us and great for Jimmy because he met this guy, Kenny.
The person was Kenny Loggins. And we set up a tape recorder, and he had no hesitation or was not intimidated at all by it. And I sat down and sang Danny's song, House at Blue Corner, and a couple of other tunes. Went away. I listened to the tape the next day, and I said, I want to work with this guy. And those first albums that we cut, Sittin' In, Loggins and Messina, Full Sail, Motherlode, in my mind are some of the best records I've ever cut.
I hear your mama don't dance, your daddy don't rock and roll. I hear your mama don't dance, your daddy don't rock and roll. Oh, when evening rolls around and it's time to go to town, where you go?
My perception of it is that we're all better musicians than we were then, better singers and better writers. And that was part of the challenge of doing the new album, making an album that could stand up in the 1990s and sound contemporary without forsaking the values that Poco has always had in, you know, the songwriting, the song crafting, the musicianship, and the vocal performance.
Richard Marx, what a privilege to be able to do Nothing to Hide, to have the song written for us. He is an exceptional, talented man. And when we worked with him in the studio, I mean, just meeting him, myself just meeting him, I really was impressed with him and the success that he's had in being able to just really meet him and talk to him and see that he's just really, I think like most of us would like to be known as just regular guys, you know, and he really was, and very talented and very fun to work with. We met him, of course, through Alan, who manages him, Alan Kovac, and I think it was just a great plus, you know, for us to be able to have him write a song for us, to produce that song, and to work with him on that.
Good, you know, it was my first love, really, because something I was a part of. It was my first heartbreak, and I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this again, because I felt like when we first sat down in my studio for the discussions of a reunion, at first I looked around the room and I thought, God, these guys are like, it's like a high school reunion I'm going through here. And then as I began to talk and see, and you see a face that you saw 20 years ago suddenly is different now. It's got maybe the hair has changed and the faces have kind of, you know, matured. And suddenly I realized this is not a high school reunion, this is a family reunion.
You remember then how it was when it all began.
The first single from the Legend album was Crazy Love, and it sold 1 million singles, and it was a #1 adult contemporary record for 6 weeks and the biggest adult contemporary record of the year. And after that came out Heart of the Night, which was equally big record, and our album sold 1 million copies. And it was wonderful. It was great because Poco had never had a gold album. And one thing that really hurt me over the years was the fact that a lot of bands had come and gone that had gold records, and Poco never did. And that's something that when you're 80 years old and you're talking to your grandkids, you know, if you can show them the gold record on the wall, it means that you did something. And if there's, you know, no gold record on the wall, it's just, I mean, that's the milestone we mark success in the music business by. And I always wanted a gold record for Poco, and so it was just great when Legend hit as big as it did.
Tonight I'm gonna break away, just you wait and see. I'll never be imprisoned by a faded memory. It happens all the time, this crazy love of mine. It wraps around my heart, refusing to unwind. Ooh, crazy love. Ah, tonight I'm gonna break away.
When you look back on it 20 years ago, we had 5 guys on stage at the Troubadour, and I don't think anyone realized how those 5 guys, their effect on American music over the next 20 years. When you look at those 5 guys and what they did, Randy with the Eagles, Jimmy with Loggins and Messina, Richie in the Buffalo Springfield, and Poco as it carried on and influenced and sold records. You're really talking about a major chunk of American music in the last 20 years, and certainly a lot of records sold and a heavy influence on what we call American music. And it all came from and is part of that little band called Poco that was there 20 years ago.
For us to be able to come back 20 years later, I mean, it's amazing that all 5 of us are still alive. I mean, the changes that people in rock and roll go through, you know, that we're all still here and and are still coherent enough, sane enough, you know, to make music together still. It's pretty exciting.
All alone at the end of the evening, when the bright lights have faded to blue, I was thinking about a woman who might have loved me, and I never knew. You know, I've always been a dreamer, spend my life running round, and it's so hard to change. I can't seem to settle down, but the dreams I've seen lately keep on turning out and burning out and turning out the same. So put me on a highway and show me a sign, and take it to the limit one more time. We'll take it to the limit. Well, come on and take it to the limit. We'll take it to the limit one more time.
Once the 5 of us got back together again, all those great things started happening again. Just like, 20 years ago. It was a special 5 guys then, and it's a special 5 guys now.
I'll never be imprisoned by a faded memory. It happens all the time, this crazy love of mine wraps around my heart, refusing to unwind. Ooh, crazy love. Ah, when I need good loving, I always come home to you. You free my mind. Time of the blues, Colorado mountains, I can see your distant sky. You're bringing a tear